Hello? I am running late as usual. I have no idea if anything's set up. Exciting. Hello, Matthias. Hello. Right, so Twitch is here. I don't know if YouTube is. Connor, hello. Okay. Titanic. Pio. Hello, hello, hello. Betty, hello. So I'm woefully unprepared today, as is usual. Theorist, thank you for helping over and checking. And I can see the chat. That's good. I had the wrong name. I had the wrong stream, where it was broadcast name, but I think that's all good now. Did the name update? Does it say double dash renderer on YouTube? Cool. Thank you, Connor. Right. Okay. I'm just. Sorry, I know this is tiny. I'm just getting all set up. Okay, right. Oh, Discord. Hang on. Hopefully this doesn't pop up. I need the thing. Where's the thing? Alert management. Alert. A few minutes late. Okay, I think we're here. I think we're doing it. I think we're doing it. Julian, hello. I think I've got the wrong. Oh, hang on. This is somewhat embarrassing. I don't know what I'm doing. Turn those off. Greco, hello. Okay, right. Panic over. I think we're here. Camera's in the wrong place, obviously. Breathe. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sunday stream. Let's do this. Indeed. Okay, so I reverted everything we did at the end of the last stream because I did not like it, and I'll tell you for why. Mad dash at the let's get up what we've got so far. So mad dash at the end to try and refactor some stuff, but I think I was taking the wrong approach with the refactoring, trying to do the renderer first, whereas I think yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a step back, and then we're going to go top to bottom and through main, and oh hang on, shit, I forgot to press that button. Oh my goodness, so many buttons I have to press now. Right, now all my timestamps now going to be 4 minutes off, which is exciting because I forgot to start the timestamp button. I think we're going to build abstraction from the top main down, because we should then end up at the renderer, but we'll need to abstract all the bits along the way to get there. So that's kind of the plan for today. I want to build out a mesh manager, which owns all the mesh data and just hands out and owns the kind of buffering of that to the graphics card, and then just hands out views to that. I want to abstract away the command buffer builder, so we can just get it to say, hey, build me a command buffer for all these things that we want to render. I want a basic entity and a basic scene. So then you sort of take the scene and can produce the command buffer, and then we'll tile that together in the render at the end. And the render then shouldn't actually be a lot of work. And then, assuming that doesn't take 2 hours, but we'll see, I would like to render a cube, which I know is out there. It's exciting. Ideally with a camera as well, so we can bring over the Matrix class, bring over the camera, wire that in, and be able to move around a cube. That'd be pretty sweet. Saul, hello. I vaguely remember you saying that. Okay, right. So let's get rid of all this. Let's have a look where we're at. So we've got our hard-coded shaders. That's fine. I'm not too worried about that. We've got this indirect command. This probably should just be render command or something like that. Like the fact that it's indirect is an implementation detail, so this is misnamed and needs changing. Daz, we got your 2 comments there. So the moment we have 2 triangles kind of hard-coded in, and that's fine. I'm happy to keep that for now. David, hello. What I would like is my plan is to have one massive buffer on the graphics card for all the vertex data, and then you just index into that. So it's just bound kind of once, and away you go. I would consider it a infrequent and slow operation to add to that. The idea being that you would probably build that at the start of the game with all the... so taking a step back, as part of the simplification for this, I don't care about streaming. The idea is that, you're kind of moving between levels and stuff like that, and, you load new graphics data and unload old graphics data and stuff like that. I'm kind of not interested in doing that. What I really want to do is just make things simple and just upload everything at once. So I want to have some sort of abstraction around that, but also the ability to load more data if needed, but it would just be known that it is kind of a slow operation. We'll probably synchronize the graphics, like the GPU communication at that point. I think that's fine. So that's that. And then so basically all this code kind of needs to go away behind something. And then the command buffer, all this needs to kind of go away behind something. This will kind of stay, but be pushed over to the renderer. And then I'm going to remove the ability to update vertex data, because everything should be driven via a material system we've not yet built, or uniforms, or some other mechanism. So this is all going to go away. So that's kind of the rough plan. Profit, hello. That being said, I think there is a slight change we need to make. I don't think the vertex data, I don't think, needs to be multi-buffered with persistent buffers, in the sense that because we're going to be updating it once. Nice, Matthias got there. No, I don't have a link to any gear setup, but feel free to ask. Exactly, yes. Around, hello. So yeah, I think all this can just go away and be one big buffer, and then if we need to update it, we'll just use the old buffer data, because the idea being kind of at the beginning of what the single level we're going to have, we will just upload all the vertex data and the index data as well. Let's see, what do I have? I forget what I've got. I've got a I have a Ryzen 9 9950 X3D. I have a 5060 Ti, and then I have 256 gig of DDR5 RAM. Dan resubbed 7 months, thank you. So yeah, let's start doing this. I think this is kind of this code sets up a simple render at the moment, doesn't do a lot. But also the other mistake that I think I made so far is that the command buffer will need to be triplicate, like multi-buffered, persistent buffer, because we're going to be updating those every single frame. So that's kind of the plan. Let's start running some code. Source graphics mesh. I'm not a massive fan of like manager classes, as in like the name, just because it's a little bit nebulous, but I think here might be a good kind of candidate. Because it also, the idea being that you could think, if you're so inclined, a mesh manager almost like an arena, like you would create it once for the lifetime of the thing that needs it, and then you would just pull out data from that, and then at the end it would kind of go away. So I think a scene might end up having a reference to a mesh manager, so that this scene pulls stuff from this mesh manager, and then all the entities are just indexes into that. I don't know, I run a lot of VMs and do a lot of video editing, so I was a bit RAM poor on my last build. I don't intend to stream mesh data, but I am naturally skeptical of global, so I think, but I do, it is a good candidate. I'm going to make it not global to start, and if it's a real pain passing it around, then we'll see. Well, we'll see how we get on, right? Just because you wouldn't do it this way. I mean, also, like, this might not be the right way in the end, but this is definitely where I'm kind of thinking at the moment. Because what I want to do is let's start hashing out the interface. No, this is a new project. Okay, so we're going to have a vector of vertex data, right? And this is going to be this is going to be the mesh data. That's going to be our big whack of mesh data, and then we'll also have in there I guess mesh data GPU, and mesh data CPU. I guess that's kind of, whether I keep those names or not, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm thinking. I want to keep the CPU side data resident as well, because I think at some point we're going to need to iterate through triangles and stuff like that. ZZ boy, ZZ, hello. I'm using Neovim. Okay, so and then I think I'm going to want something like mesh view, okay, whatever that is, and then auto load vector vertex data mesh. I'm thinking something like this. So you can basically say, hey, I want to load this bundle of vertices in, and that will, you'll transfer ownership of that in, because presumably you no longer need it. The mesh manager will own it. It will update the GPU if it needs to. It'll stick its own data in. It'll do any bookkeeping, and then it'll return you back something through which that you can, like, non-owning primitive that you can use to refer to it in future. That I imagine will be an offset and a size into basically into these two. Right, because if you look at, I'm kind of puzzling a lot of this out as I go along, right? We need to set these, right? So it's going to effectively come something that we can then convert into a draw command, right? So a count and an offset. Building your own renderer from scratch. Do I have any C++ tips? I mean, my usual C++ tip is just to kind of like write lots of C++. And that's a tip for learning any language or technology. Like, there's no substitute for just writing lots of code. I know that's kind of maybe a little bit nebulous. I would say try and keep up with like the modern standards where you can, because they kind of add a lot of niceties and syntactic sugar that make doing a lot of the sort of, I guess, like the old style boilerplates a lot easier. Ranges, for example, I would try and use what I would consider quite like proper idioms like RAI and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess like have a play around and see where you get to. I don't know. What's the alternative? Like, the alternative to OpenGL is either DirectX, which I don't want to learn, or Vulkan, which is way overkill for what we want to do. Range is mentioned indeed. So let's So I think it's going to be something like, I want this to be small. I want this to be effectively cheap or free to copy, much like a string view or a span or something like that. So something like offset std size t count. I'm not quite sure whether it's going to count a size or what, but it's going to be something like that. So you load in the data, it does the bookkeeping, and then because this is going to be append only. All right, so I'm just going to kind of verbalize my thought process here. Correct me if I'm wrong. This vector will be append only. I don't want to support removing anything because we're not doing streaming or anything like that. So, once you've loaded it into the current mesh manager instance, it is there for you to use. If we wanted to support removing, and because we're going to have multiple threads in the future, we probably have to have sort of reference count and bookkeeping, and there's a load of chuff that I just do not care about. So for now, this is append only, which means whilst the pointer itself might, like, the location in memory of the underlying array might move, the offsets will always be the same, right? Once you stuck something at offset 2, count 5, doesn't matter what you stick on the end, that will always represent that. So yeah, I think that's kind of the interface I want. And we can just stick our whatever in here. So let's start trying to prove this out. Manager, namespace UFPS. Have one of these. Have one of those. Also, we're going to need to do some sort of like scaling of capacity. PBR's got nothing to do with the graphics card, like the graphics API, right? PBR is just a way of doing, correct me if I'm wrong, but effectively the lighting calculations with respect to like the environment and stuff like that. Yes, so it's a good point. Like, will there be wasted space? Potentially, but again, I think we can change the growth strategy. I'm just going to double it each time because I'm not going to have a huge amount of mesh models, and we'll add some metrics later so we can track it, and. But yeah, like, none of this is perfect, right? A lot of this is just got to iterate. Like, we could easily get stuck in analysis. I could easily get stuck in analysis paralysis trying to figure out what the best architecture is. I just want to get going and makes my life just a little bit easier solving the problems I need to solve now. So mesh data CPU, and then mesh data GPU. So that will need to have an initial size. I don't think it'll support. Let's call it size of vertex data, and then mesh data. All right, and then we'll handle growing it as there. So then we can do mesh data CPU dot reserve 1 to keep those effectively in sync. Deload, hello. Oh. So the plan for today is just kind of refactor some stuff and set us up with a slightly better architecture for loading models, because that's going to be the next big thing we want to do. Okay, fine. utils. We need to quite aggressively log this so we can see what's going on, because I'm probably gonna deliberately start off with quite what am I trying to say? I'm probably gonna start off with quite small initial buffer sizes, just so I can see them grow and prove out the logic. And then when it comes later on, we can just artificially inflate those. It's unlikely I'll be dressing up on these streams. I might put a dinner jacket on, but that's probably about as far as it's going to go. Okay, so actually, this is trivially copyable anyway, so I probably don't even need to try and be clever with moving it. So in fact, actually, I think that's more idiomatic, because in this sense, a move is just the same of the under. Because I'm not going to transfer ownership, I'm going to have to append it. I don't think I gain anything by taking ownership of it. I can't move that vector into another vector, like to append it. It doesn't work like that. Connor, nice, good job. Okay, so I don't know, something like if so mesh data CPU dot insert stirred ranges. Hang on 1 minute. Give me a second. The ranges cend mesh data CPU. Third ranges begin mesh stirred ranges end. I think that's right. I know there's loads of different ways of doing it. I could pre-allocate the size and stuff, but just for simplicity, I want to just shove that in there. Yeah, like I said, there's no vertex data is pure data. There is no need to move or anything. It's going to do a copy anyway. So I'd rather keep the code simple to read rather than be like, if I came to this in like 4 or 5 months' time, like, why am I moving this? Do you know what I mean? Move implies that to me, doing something that's specialized over moving somewhat implies that there's a reason for that. Whereas if a move is the same as a copy, I would personally rather just keep the code simpler. I am all aboard the reflection hype train. I cannot wait for it. I'm going to be reflecting the shit out of everything when I get a chance to use it. I'm super keen for it. So now we need, I guess something like const auto buffer size equals mesh data CPU dot size times size of vertex data. So that's the number of bytes. Explicit about that. So that's the number of bytes in there. So if buffer size, if mesh data GPU dot, do I not expose the size? Okay, I'll take that linker error in a minute. if size is greater than, hang on a minute. No, I need the if the size is less than or equal to buffer size bytes, right? Yeah, we'll go to the vertex data in a second. Okay, so if the size, because what I need to do now is I basically need to do mesh data GPU dot write auto mesh view equals equals data buffer view mesh data CPU dot data mesh buffer size bytes mesh view 0u. Right, that's where's one more. Yeah. Reinterpret cast const stood byte. Okay. Cannot spell that. Okay. So what I need to, this is basically what I want to do, right? Is I want to take all this new data and copy it to the end. Like, I could figure out the diff and just copy the rest on it, but as I said, like, I would consider loading a reasonably slow operation and not something you want to be doing in the hot loop anyway. So because of that, I'm happy to kind of keep the bookkeeping simpler, and we'll just, when you load new mesh, copy it all back up to the GPU. If that is a massive bottleneck, then we can optimize it later, but for now, I want to just keep this simple. All the graphics devs in the chat seething at my insolence around this. Oh, I forgot about append range. What? Yes, thank you. Good shout. Mesh data. I do have it. Oh, look at that. That's so much nicer. Thank you. I completely forgot about that because I've it's quite new. Thank you. Good shout. Good shout. Okay, so we're going to stick that there, and then if the size is now smaller than the total amount of size we need, then we will do I'm trying to think what's best. Do we want to just increase it up to the size of the buffer rather than doubling it, or do we want to double it so we don't have to keep resizing it? Miss Lord Winix, I'm glad you're here. Well, you'd have to double in a loop, right? Because if you had a massive amount of data, that was more than it. So what you'd have to do is basically do, actually, equals mesh data GPU dot size times 2, and then while new size is less than, you probably could actually just, I'm sure there's log, no, wait a minute, take the log of it. There's got to be a way of doing this without a loop, right? And then, but whatever. Add you And then here, the reason I want to keep this in the if is because I need to calculate the new size. And then right at the end, I can just basically do mesh GPU buffer equals mesh data. Oh, here's an interesting one. Am I going to be able to give it the same name without first deregistering that name? I don't know if there's a good resource for learning game dev because I'm not a game developer and I'm figuring a lot of this out as I go along. I think it might be a reasonable resource for hopefully some modern C++, but I don't know. Don't take anything I say as gospel, especially around the graphics side. Okay. I think that's kind of what I want, right? So append the new data to the CPU side, do a bit of bookkeeping, and then here. So what I'm going to do is be like log info growing mesh data buffer to X, and then we can do mesh data GPU dot size, and then so at least we can see this. This is why I want to do it this way, so I can see it happening in the logs. And then the final bit is return this. So I guess well, they offset and count. So const auto offset equals mesh data CPU dot size, right? Because it's going to go at the end, so I know that's where the new one's going to start. So dot offset equals offset and dot count. I think these are in elements rather than bytes, but I'm willing to change them later. Mesh dot size. So there you go. So I will now know, like once I load this data up, I will know within that buffer, both on the CPU and the GPU side, where it starts, then how many elements in that. I am also going to I'm going to opt out at the moment for having any way of kind of retrieving this. Like once you load it, it's kind of your responsibility to hold on to that mesh view. I want to avoid having like the string gubbins around, like giving it a name and having a map to look it all up and that kind of thing. For now, like you load that data and then you remember it. So now we so a couple of things first. Make mesh manager.cp. So that's fine, and then fix that linker error before it happens. Auto buffer size const return size. Nailed it. Okay. Yes. Quacko. I know you were waiting to snipe me on that. I could feel it. I could feel your fingers poised to point out my mistake, but I got there this time. Okay, so let's go back to main and let's see if we can start integrating some of this. Graphics, mesh manager. Oh, actually, I probably should while I'm here. Auto to string. Might be useful for debugging. I think I want these to be uint32Ts. Let's keep this a little bit smaller. Vulkan's, this comes up a lot. I would consider Vulkan far too complicated for doing something like this live. Way too complicated. I'm not saying people shouldn't use it, but for like the little game that I want to make, I think I'll make more progress by using a Simpro API. Ooh. I think it's unlikely to have more than 4 billion of these, so I think we're probably all right. And then return third format mesh manager number vertex count, and do mesh CPU dot size. I don't know, something like that. Might be useful. We can always expand that later as needed. I mean, there is no scale for complexity, right? Like there's no, like, it's impossible to say something is 2 or 3 times more complex, I would say, because it really depends a lot on what you know and your experience and the sort of what you want to achieve with it. For me, I would consider it more complex because it's a lot more low level. I'm not going to do anything that needs that amount of control. So why spend the time doing it? That's my view. You are free to, of course, change your mind. Okay, so let's do auto mesh manager equals UFPS mesh manager. Okay, and then we can do const auto try1 equals mesh manager.load. Can I just do that? Yes, I can. Nice. Const auto try2 equals mesh manager. So eventually, this will then go into an entity and then to a scene. So I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. All right. So then mesh manager is going to need a auto native handle, which will be a gluint. All right. I think you should like give it a go if you're interested in Vulkan. Like, there's like a couple of pretty good starting tutorials on there. Like, give it a go and see what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is easy and fine, like, or for you. So don't just take some random person on the internet's opinion about it. Like, go try it out for yourself. Just pass that through. Oh, you can ask, and there is because people ask a lot, there is certainly a command for this. Some random old guy's opinion, indeed. Okay, so I don't need the triangle buffer anymore. Where's that coming from? I like how the error's not caught up yet. Like that should be an error, right? Okay, so that should bind that. So that should largely be the same. So then we can get rid of this chuff, all right? And I guess for completeness, we should have like try one dot count, try one dot offset, try two dot count, try two dot offset. See if that blends. Has the CMake got a typo? Probably. Did someone point this out earlier and I just oh. Thanks. Okay, right. So nailed it. So I think that's probably a commit. Add mesh manager class. Oh, that should be the commit before, but it's fine. Expose size from buffer. Commit refactor. Cool. Okay. That's fine. We'll get there in the end. We all make mistakes. Miso especially. This is the problem. As the streams get more popular, it's harder for me to keep up with the chat. So that's my excuse. I am a victim of my own success. Okay, so the next thing to do is get rid of all this chuff. Or do we want an entity first? I think we're probably going to need an entity first because we're going to need some way of building the command buffer from it. Indeed. Any recommendations for people who want to get into C++ and game dev? Like professionally, as a hobby, I probably need a little bit more. What's your current experience? It's a bit of a massively open-ended question. I'm still doing reversing RE. So I'd say the YouTube videos, like the produced scripted ones, tend to be more of the reverse engineering side, and the streams tend to be more of the forward engineering side. So I am working on another video at the moment. I doubt it'll be done before Christmas, only because I will want to take some time off, but I'm hoping to start off the new year with an interesting one. This is true. Chat will point out the mistakes. Okay. Let's do eSource graphics entity dot.h. So an entity really at the moment is just, do I even need a separate entity for now? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I will do it because I will definitely need it soon. Source graphics mesh view .h. Going to bring this over into a separate header, so I don't have to include the mesh manager when I just want access to the mesh view. Right, and then hash includes the student. In space, oops. Okay, nice. And then from here we can do hash include graphics mesh view. All right. The entity is just hash include graphics mesh view, and this is just a mesh view. Mesh view. Right. Bless you. Oh, hang on. Yeah. Where class? Good question. Where class? Or struct? I'm going to start with the struct, but it will probably become a class eventually. What is my biggest regret when learning C++? I don't really have any regrets. I guess like my only regret is I feel like having done it for like the best part of a decade, I do feel I should be better at it. I don't know if that counts as a regret. Source graphics scene.h. Okay, so let's program once. Namespace oops hash include graphics entity hash include graphics mesh manager. Right, I'm going to start off with this design, but I reserve the right to massively change my mind. I think I want. Oh, I can feel a range coming on soon. By the way, I can feel it in my waters. Third vector entity entities, and then a mesh manager. So the idea being here that all these entities will be referenced to this mesh manager, right? Oh, good. Yes. I pressed the shorts button. Thank you, AC. I'm glad you're here. I'm so bad at this. I'm such a bad content creator. Also, I don't know if you're here at the start, AC, but I forgot to press the button to start the timestamp file. So all my timestamps are already now 4 minutes off. So I'm gonna have a dreadful time trying to find this at the end, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I think that's fine. Like all decisions, I will eventually live to regret it. But for now. So graphics scene including. That's painful. Graphics entity. So now we should be able to have auto scene equals UFPS scene dot entity equals that dot mesh manager equals mesh manager. Okay. And then we can just do scene dot entities dot pushback. Ooh. Hang on, it's because it is in and of itself another struct, so we just need more curly braces. What's not to like about that? Scene dot entities dot pushback. I don't know. That's a great question, and one that keeps me up at night. Do scene and entity belong in graphics, or do they belong in sort of a higher level game directory? I don't know the answer to that. You know what? I'll make it. I'll make it. Maybe I'll make it easier for everyone. Maybe I'll do. Does that make it clearer? put it in the wrong place. Hang on. There you go. Nailed it. Okay. So that's fine. Obviously, we could have done that in line here. I don't really care. So load eventually will either have overloads for like a file or something. Do you know what I mean? Like we can load other stuff. But for now, I think that's fine. Okay, so now source graphics getting pretty busy. Directory graphics. What did I call it? I call it command buffer. Yeah. So let's do e source graphics command buffer.h. I'm really not sure what this is going to look like. So I think we're going to have to figure this API out as we go along. It's just, yeah, I mean, cloud, you'll definitely get there. You just got to keep, you know, if it takes 10,000 hours, if you can spend an hour on it tonight, then you're 1 hour through that 10,000 hours. Class command buffer. I think this is going to be a little bit more complex. This, a command buffer itself is not, at least in our world, is not cheap to build because it's going to involve creating a persistent buffer. So this will have to live once, and then we will kind of modify it, if that makes sense. It's not like I could just have a function which is like create command buffer and then you give it a scene. That would be wasteful. The idea is because we've got the multi-buffer, I think the command buffer itself will own that multi-buffer, and then you'll be saying to it, can you please turn the scene into render commands and write them in. It will have to do some bookkeeping inside. It will have to figure out if that's going to grow. We will need another growth strategy, blah, 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 blah. I think that's what I want. And then I don't really know how it's going to work for like static buffers and stuff, but let's keep it dynamic to start with. So we're definitely going to want a graphics multi-buffer, and we're definitely going to want graphics persistent buffer. So this will be a multi-buffer persistent buffer command buffer. I think we'll just have. It's a good question. So the question is, what will happen when we do multiple shaders passes, right? Are we going to have multiple command buffers? Is that how will that work? I suspect we will just have multiple command buffers. Or no, I don't think it will. I don't think it will matter if we can construct some sort of scene object around it. I don't know. I think is probably the question to that. I think we need to kind of build out the API and figure out as we go along. Like, it doesn't matter so much if we write different commands into the buffer. Does that make sense? Like different draw commands, as long as we can represent those draw commands somehow. So I think this, because it's triple buffered, I think this might just work. Anyway, we'll figure it out. So auto build, right? And then auto native handle const GL uint. I think it's this is the kind of API that I'm thinking of, right? Because the idea here is, so let's keep it simple. My sort of golden rule for this is keep it simple and solve the problem we've got now, and then just aggressively refactor later. So I think what I want to be able to do is be something like pressed it. Thank you. Yes. That's funny that. So I thought I had quite a like standard. So I'm British. I'm from the UK. I thought I had quite a standard RP accent. No, not necessarily like a BBC accent or the King's English, but like I would say I had a pretty standard RP accent, or at least a southern accent. But I don't know. I don't know what you were expecting. Well, this is it, right? Like we've got to. All we can really do is charge forward to the next mistake, and then figure out why it was a mistake and go and refactor. RP received pronunciation. It's a name of an accent in the UK. Let's start with that. So we're going to say, hey, we're going to build this in. I think we might have overloads for build, which allow us to give a slightly fine-grained thing. So if we want to do produce and build commands for a post-processing effect, like we might have a different overload that allows us to build for that. That's kind of where my head's going with this. I am from the South Coast without doxing myself, so that's kind of interesting. Again, hence the accent. Let's just start with this. All right, there's only so much. Could you imagine? I could wake up every morning and step outside to go to work and just hear from across the village, "Look, shit, mate." Or Hamlet, I go. Depends, maybe. No, there's no gameplay at the moment. It's all just building out the render tech. Okay. What am I doing? I will. So right. We'll need one of those. This is where it's going to get interesting. Okay, right. Do the easy ones first. So this will need a command buffer. I'm going to give it 1 byte to start with, so it is forced to resize on the first few calls, just so we can log it and see it happening, and then again we can increase that later. But for now, like, I just want to force that. Definition of missing. You what, mate? Oh, I forgot to save the file. Classic. So that should do a thing and such. So now, it's gonna do the easy bits first. Buffer.native handle, one of my favorites, and then command buffer.advance. The man's got bingo. Okay, so this is now an implementation detail, at least for now, right? Okay. Treat myself to a C student. Good one. I am again fully into the auto ethos mindset. I find it's less typing. I find it keeps things easier to read. But this is my personal opinion. Like, you do not have to. You could AAA, or you could almost always auto. You could never auto. It's really up to you. I like consistency is super important to me. So now once I've started with this style, like I will continue with this throughout the whole project. Again, because I think consistency is like a key tenet of good software design. Okay, so let's ronge and see where we get to. So I want to basically produce from the scene, or from the entities, right? I want to produce an array of indirect commands. Const auto command is going to be scene dot entities pipe to stud views transform. Just give myself some more space. Const auto e return indirect command, and then we're going to do dot count equals e dot, so the e is the entity, so mesh view dot count dot instance count is going to equal to 0u dot first is going to equal to e dot mesh view dot offset, and then dot base instance is going to equal to 0u. I think that might need to change, but let me have a think about it. Third ranges to vector. OpenGL 4.6. Instance count 1, good spot. It's the base instance I'm thinking of. Does this need to take into account the fact that this is now triple buffered? Does this need to start off at the current offset within the triple buffer, if that makes sense? Because obviously if you're using GL draw arrays instance base instance, then you have the base instance here, which specifies the base instance for use in fetching instance vertex attributes. Oh, okay, fine, thank you. Because basically what I got what. So how do I control the vertex, the GL vertex ID offset? This is C++ 23, 26 as soon as we get it. I'm on GCC 15.2, so as soon as we get it. Yeah, this is pretty bleeding edge. it's going to be pretty much OpenGL. Like, there's only so much I can do in my time, so we're going to keep it with one graphics API, which should be broadly available across most, versions of Windows, most hardware. But I do want to I'm using ASDO, so all the modern features of 4.6, or as modern as one could call it. Yeah, sorry. Okay, fine. So the issue I'm having is, command buffer, right, is effectively, say it stores 2 triangles, okay? Sorry, say it stores 2 draw commands, okay? It's actually got that in triplicate because of the triple buffering, right? So when I do GL multi-draw array indirect, don't I need to know which? Don't I need to adjust the vertex ID so it pulls from the correct slice of that triple buffer? I'm struggling to articulate this, but basically this shouldn't be 0 and 1 on every call. It should be 0 and 1 for the first frame, 2 and 3 for the next frame, and 4 and 5 for the next. So I feel like this needs some sort of offset. Is that governed by one of these? Is that like the stride? Specifies the distance and base between elements of the draw parameter array. First will so first we'll adjust it. So I need to go back to command buffer, right? So this needs to have, because basically I'm using persistently mapped buffers, right? So with the coherent bit set. So the idea being something driver magic, I memcopy to a pointer and then that appears on the GPU, but there's no synchronization. I don't pay the cost of the synchronization, but I have to handle the synchronization myself. So the idea being, if I use 3 buffers, each frame, I submit 1 to the GPU to do work, and then I can then immediately on the next frame start writing to the next one. Okay, fine. Let's give it a go and see what happens. I just my brain feels like the idea for each command buffer to have, yes, but you'll be writing. Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, but you could have added a new entity to draw in the next frame, right? So it would be different to the previous one. Right, but the amount of things you could render could change frame by frame, right? I could finish with 1/3, simulate some game logic, and then I need to render a new entity. Right, okay, I think we'll just give it a go, right? And then when the whole thing explodes and my graphics card dies and the stream ends, we'll deal with it. Yeah, no, I get it. I'm kind of musing out loud. But anyway, let's do this. So then I basically need to effectively do pretty much what I had in the previous class, which was the mesh manager. Auto const, naughty me, const auto command view equals data buffer view reinterpret cast constant byte star command.data, and then this week command dot size times size of indirect command. What have I done wrong? I cannot spell this. There you go. And then command buffer dot write command view. Reinterpret cast is fine in this case because it's just to a byte type, which is well defined. It's the only way you can get access to the underlying byte representation. There's no strict aliasing rule violation here, right? This is because our writes just want to write raw bytes out. So this is fine. But yeah, I understand. Like, it's always dicey, riddled with undefined behavior. Quacko, secretly hoping for a blue screen. It's only happened once. So now the issue is like this will, if you follow through, this will in persistent buffer land. So this handles sorry, this has a narrow contract which will in debug check that there is enough bytes. So as we'll be kind of running in debug for now, that's fine. So all we got to do now is we've got to handle whether this needs to grow or not, and then handle the growth of it. So multi-buffer, we can, I need to know the size of the individual buffer, right? So I guess that's original size. I'm not a massive fan of the name, but what are you going to do about it? Original size, constant size t, return original size. Okay, got that in the end. So the original size will be the size of one slice of the third of the buffer. So I'm trying to just think in terms of like the individual slice that we have to work with. The fact that it's triple buffered is largely an implementation detail. So I'm trying to basically think in terms of that. So if command view dot size bytes, although it's in size, it's in bytes anyway, is greater than command buffer dot original size, then we're going to need to grow, right? Thanks. I'm a big fan of designated initializers. I think it makes it so much more semantically clearer what you're doing. Also, you will get a warning, or in my case, an error, if you don't initialize all the members in the order they're declared. So you kind of get that you get that nicety as well. Can I progress with C++ using an already made engine if you want to make a game? Right, so the thing is, like, if you want to make a game, you should definitely use an engine. I feel like you have two goals here: learn C++ and make a game. If you want to make a game, do not spend all your time doing what I'm doing, because that will not get you anywhere close to a game. If you want to use C++ to do that, though, I would definitely look at something like SFML or Raylib or SDL, or something that does a lot of the low-level stuff for you, but will allow you to experiment with C++ features, will allow you to kind of do the game logic and the building all the parts, and that will stretch you in terms of C++. So SFML is a C++ framework for handling windowing and graphics and stuff like that. You can draw squares on the screen. It's pretty great. I would actually recommend looking at something like Raylib, though, because it's a C library, and I think a really useful skill as a C++ developer is how to wrap another library, like a C library, and build out like your own C++ primitives and come up with like decent interfaces and, you know, what your vocabulary types are. So that will give you kind of like a good challenge. But you got to kind of decide where you want to spend the time. So I think, so part of me thinks here we can just grow this, right? So where were we before Mesh Manager? But I'm just gonna, I'm not a massive fan of copying code, but I think for something like this, it's fine. So if auto new size equals command buffer size, I have pressed the button, yes. No, I'm just going to sit down with a few beers and try and figure it out. I don't think we're going to be getting onto a cube today, but let's see. Okay, fine. So if that's then while new size is less than, but something, what have I done? New size is, hang on, what have I done here? The new size will be it's the current size, isn't it? So I want to do command buffer dot original size times 2z. Is that right? And then while new size is less than, that's it, command view dot size bytes. New size that. Growing command buffer, we're going from the current size, which is command buffer dot original size, to new size. And then we can do, you're right, graphics. Nope, let's just assume everything is in graphics because I spent so long faffing around with that. And then we can do command buffer equals multi buffer templated on persistent buffer new size mesh data. Now, Harand, I'm going to call you out explicitly here. I think I need to synchronize the GPU at this point, right? Because I'm indirectly growing all three buffers, right? So new draw command comes in, I'm on the next frame, I need to resize it all, but the previous frame might still be in use by the GPU. So, like, yes. Gross, but yes. Like, guarantee that the GPU is done with everything before I resize, pull the rug out from underneath its feet. I think I need a barrier, right? In case other case GPU using previous frame. So I don't think it needs to do it on the vertex one, right? Because if we go through this is one, it's not triple buffered, and two, no, I think that's it. I think it's because it's not triple buffered, right? So I'm guaranteed to have been done with it, question mark. Although actually, maybe you are right, to be honest. Like, for the bug that I'm inevitably going to have with this, we could just like not worry about it. Again, you have to be careful when you're using persistently mapped buffers, or at least I'm given to understand that you should be careful with persistently mapped buffers, especially coherent ones. How do I debug? Carefully. GDB and hope. Well, this is it. This is my view. Like, what's one GL finish between friends? 2 in this case. I think that's what I want, right? So I'll exponentially grow this, and then that will in turn triplicate it. But I don't have to handle that because the abstraction's doing it. Or we're going to have an issue with RenderDoc, though, because I'm going to use bindless textures, so which RenderDoc is infamously anti. So it's fine. Well, this is it, exactly. The whole point is that you'll pre-allocate all the stuff anyway, and we'll set a much more sensible like thing than 1. I just want to see it happening. All right, okay, let's go back to main and let's integrate this. Let's integrate this nonsense. So graphics, command buffer. So all this misery disappears. All this misery disappears. All this misery disappears. And then I think I have to do this in the render loop now, right? Because it might have changed. We'll do auto command buffer equals oops, command buffer. Build up the scene, create the dummy VAO, blah 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 blah, boring, 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 middle, middle, and then command buffer dot build scene. Make the font a bit smaller. Then command. I do feel like advance should be an RAI primitive that I just create once and it automatically knows to advance it at the end of the frame. But maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. It's open source now, mate. You go grab the miserable code I've written. Oh, that too feels like it should be a. Oh, interesting. I'll tell you what that should be. That should be a. Build should return a stud uint32t, right? Which is how many things it's just written in. Yeah, I like that. And then return command dot size. Yeah. Wants auto command count and then command count. It's near him. Should we see if this blends? Oh, what a fool. What an absolute, made myself look like a right Burke there. I think if someone does bang code or bang source or bang git or something like that, the thing will pop up with the link. I mean, still works, mate. Still works. I've hit that point where I've got like about like half an hour left of what I intend to stream, and like, what do I do with it? No, it's true, but that would come through uniforms and other stuff later. Do I need to bind this? I guess I do need to bind this per frame because the underlying gluent may have moved on with its life. Drawing direct count. That is true. We could do that. Well, actually, no. I want to render a class first. I feel as well like to really prove this. Actually, what were the logs? What were the logs doing? Were they logging? There you go. So the mesh manager grew from 18 to 60, and then grew from 60 to see that. Wow, sorry, I've been reverse engineering something recently, so I've been putting all my numbers in hex. I do not need them in hex here. This is far too confusing. That is just a terrible habit on my part. Let me just go and change that. Outrageous. No one needs that. What was the other one? Mesh manager. I should not inflict my hex upon you. Are they? Thank you. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Mesh manager. I don't actually have a toString for the command buffer, so we should probably put that in. Include strong. Auto toStrong. Const void. Command buffer. Nope, you can go away. Auto command buffer toString const std string return std format command buffer. What actually information do I have? Do I actually have anything useful? I guess like command buffer files. Command buffer dot. Sure. Yeah, all right, we're getting there. We're getting there. Don't at me. The abuse. Okay, that feels like some commits. Oh, we haven't made loads of changes. So let's see. Expose original size in multi buffer. It feels like can't be adding a method and not testing it. That equals buffer dot mb dot original size data view dot size bytes. Yeah, well, I just I don't understand it. I don't understand the meme. I don't understand why it's funny. I don't understand why it's still funny. My kids say it, so I'm clearly just an old man shaking his fist at the clouds who doesn't really understand the world anymore. Amend that commit. What else have we got? So we got a scene. We got let's. So let's do commit move mesh view to separate file. Okay. Think and log. I don't really like multiple commits, but I can't bother to split it up. So add entity struct. Just playing for time now. Add scene struct. Commit add command buffer class. Integrate command buffer into main. Okay, cool. Getting there. Did I? Ugh. Done this all on blame main, haven't I? What a fool I am. Fine, I'll just revert that later. Okay, let's. What did I say I was going to do? I've completely lost the plot now. I was going to pull that to a renderer class, wasn't I? Source graphics renderer.h. I know it's no longer available because I reversed it, but I guess it's still my Vim buffer, so that was. Bring that back. Okay, fine. So what do we actually need in such a class now? We just need. It will need to own the command buffer and it will need to own the dummy VAO. So we're not going to need any of that rubbish. It's going to need a. It will need a buffer, I think. No, it's not. It's going to need the auto release chuff. Okay, let's do command buffer hash include utils auto release hash include graphics OpenGL. It's probably enough to get us going. Oh, hash include graphics scene. Thanks. I had good fun sitting down talking with Cheno. He, nice guy. It was good fun. Right. Okay. Don't need any of this chuff. So we will have a. So this will own the command buffer. This will also own our auto release gluint. Dummy VAO. You have to have one. Then that's largely it. And then this nonsense now becomes render const scene. eSource graphics renderer.cp. I'm just going to throw all this in the C. Let's renderer. Space. Oops. Yeah, so you would have one VAO per mesh normally, but I'm doing vertex pulling, so I just squirt it all into the GPU and get the machinery to tell the graphics card what index it's rendering, and it literally just pulls it from that buffer. So there's a lot less. All that chuff of GL vertex, add trigger ray, all that chuff just disappears. It's just like, it's quite nice actually. You just define a struct in the GPU, in your shader. You define the same struct, packed hopefully the same in CPU land, and then you just, with a persistent buffer, you literally just mem copy that to a rando pointer, and it just appears. Exactly, yeah. So dummy VAO is just going to be main. Zero U auto e gl delete vertex arrays. One of them, please. Address of e. That'll be fine there. Then what was the other one? Command buffer. Just default that, and then that's out there. Okay, fine. So bind and forget. It's tricky. Like don't let it get down. You cannot let OpenGL win. Cannot let it win. Yeah, VAO is strange. It's like, well, you know, just tell me what the stride and the offset is to all these things in this struct, I guess, in this random object that you have to bind. What then? Stop auto-including that header. I do not care for it. Okay, so then we're going to go renderer. Nope, not that at all. I'm going to have to figure out somewhere to shift the program. I guess that belongs in entity. Entity needs to know like a pointer to the program it's going to render with. I guess. Okay, fine. Let's. So this is going to get called once per frame. So we're basically just going to yank this out and slap it in here, and then change all this. Helps if I make this part of the class. At least the advance is kind of constrained within this method, as in, yes, it's bookkeeping, but it's bookkeeping we can control. We're not relying on effectively a user to call it. So I'm kind of a little bit more okay with that. What else goes on in mainland? Interesting. Where are we going to do that? Is this cheap? Can I do? That's what I want, right? I just find that at the top there. That's fine. That goes. That goes. That goes. That goes. So the last thing to do is figure out what to do with the program. Right. I guess an entity needs to know the only issue with that is that I don't think this lives here. I think this is actually, I've changed my mind. I think this is a feature of the renderer, because this isn't going to be some generic engine, for want of a better word, where you can define arbitrary programs and shaders, right? There's going to be a fixed number of shaders that the engine, I said the engine now, that the game uses for everything. So I think eventually this will be the deferred renderer shader, right? So the renderer would need to know that. It's like render all these things with the deferred renderer. So actually I think I think we can just pull all this gubbins out, do it in the constructor of the renderer, and then just have that used. Makes sense to me. I don't want to support like arbitrary shaders. So now renderer here will have to have a program. This will just be a program. Eventually we will have a deferred renderer program. We'll have an SSAO program. Just quit out of Vim. Don't even need it anymore. Just do it all in my head. Awful. Volk, hello. What was I doing with my life? Okay, so this will need graphics program. This will need graphics shader. Then because this is going to be we're going to need an anonymous function. We're going to need a help function here. So auto create program. And that's going to be a U FPS program. So then here we can have program create program. Hi, Lucas. Hello. Okay, fine. So then this just becomes whatever this misery is here. And then we can just return that, which means we get, it's not that's a heavy object, but we'll get RVO, which is nice. And then we can just do program.use because it's going to be the only one we use. So I don't think there's any issue with that. So then back to here, this goes away, this goes away, this goes away, this goes away. Sorry, my big bald dome's probably in the way. Buffer goes away, entity goes away, OpenGL program shader, nice. So now all we need is a graphics renderer. Don't need the command buffer anymore. And then this just becomes, we do all this, and then we just do renderer dot render scene. Which is nice. Nice. MNOPQR. Works my machine. I kind of want to have this dynamic. Like we press a button and the other triangle appears just to prove that we can insert something as we go along. So let me just... refactor main to use renderer. So something like else if const explorer. No, hang on a minute. I've already got key event in here. If arg is equal to UFPS key event UFPS key T for triangle, UFPS key event no, it's key press down. Key state, obviously, down. I like how I deleted that and then I lost the buffer. Hang on, let me just get that back. Is that right? So if we press the key, we'll add a triangle. Also, I suppose I could keep adding triangles, but I won't see anything. So don't judge my code. Don't look too hard at that. Oh, because on the up, because it's on the up press, it's a separate event, so it'll quit it. Okay, fine. Let's try doing args dot key equals UFPS key, and then we've got the static check in there, so we won't try and double do it anyway. That was funny. And we should have seen here, yeah, these then grow. So it grew the command buffer twice, which was nice. That's what I wanted to see. Yeah, no boom. Showcase. Scene. I think that's kind of where I wanted to get to today, which is nice. So I think before everyone disappears, freebies. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I know Harand really wants me to do GL multi draw arrays in direct count. But I can't find the page for it. Isn't it? Because it's an extension, isn't it? So do I have to then query for the extensions and hope for the best? Let's just check out the Welsh town names. Multi draw. Well, I do have it. Multi draw. What's the signature? Mode, indirect, draw count, max draw count. So basically, I believe the. Oh, hang on. Vim does not like going into this file. Let me come back out again. my understanding of the problem is, and Harand, do correct me if I'm wrong, we're growing our command buffer, right, exponentially. So at some point, it's almost certainly going to be that we have more command buffer size than we do command buffers, right? Because imagine if you double it, we're not going to instantly fill that double. So by default, multi-draw arrays indirect will render this many commands, and then it will convert effectively the rest of that capacity into degenerate triangles, but it will still do some rendering overhead for them. Whereas for this, we can now say what the maximum amount is, so it will stop after that. So I think that is now just slightly more optimal. Oof. But it doesn't work around. You've led me down the garden path. I need a parameter buffer. What's a parameter buffer? Is this your way of saying that I should use Vulkan? Because there's no Chronos page for this function, right? You've just fabricated a rando function that apparently my driver knows. Jose, good night. There's no parameter buffer in here. Right, okay, fine. I've got the Dart page for it. I don't know if that's helpful. I cannot find the docs for the extension. Not today. Not today. Don't know they. I need to go and look it up. I'll look it up and see what I want to do in my life. Right. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at with? So now we can create a pull request, renderer, create a patch release, create a pull request. Wait for the bit. I'm kind of expecting it to, there you go, run some tests. Run some tests. I mean, I didn't just rename the function. I added another parameter as well. Like, I wasn't being lazy. Like, I added the max count, but obviously there's more to it than I was expecting. I will have a look up. I'll ask the Oracle. So yeah, the build system, we got kind of a, for anyone who's interested, got a Dockerized build system, so this automatically produces. This is effectively like a reproducible build system. So all the compiling I've been doing that you've been seeing today is all gone via Docker, which is quite nice. It uses MinGW and G++ 17. That'd be nice. 15. There's a bunch of GitHub actions on the repo as well, so this will automatically build it on Linux and then send it across to Windows for testing. So we kind of keep the same workflow on the actions that we have been deving with. I will stop explaining this at the end of every stream because people will get sick of it, but as we're getting quite a lot of new people at the moment, I think it's kind of worth going through the mechanics of this. Once this is done, we can merge it. That then kicks off another action which automatically increments the version number in CMake and writes that back as a new commit. Once that's done, it does a release build with the new version number and then publishes it to GitHub and then sends alert to Discord. It is just a little bit slow on GitHub Actions rather than my sort of 16-core machine with all the RAMs. No, there's still a race condition in it, so we'll see. We'll see if we trigger the race condition today. It's nice having. It's one of the nice things about a reproducible build system is the inherent race conditions that come along with that. Okay, so now this is testing on Windows, so you'll see this pulls the artifact, it runs the test, everything passed, boop, 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 boop. Happy days, tick, 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 green across the board. Merge support request, sure, looks good to me, ship it up to actions. This then does this, so this will bump the version. This sometimes fails because the commit isn't ready or something. I'm not quite sure why, but sometimes it's like, I can't check out this commit, but there you go, it's fine. So it's bumped the version from 11 to 12. Laziness. So the question is, why do I not just load all the OpenGL functions? And I just cannot be able to go and like pass the file with all the function definitions in and then convert it all into my loading code. It's pure like laziness on my part. Okay, so that's bumped the version. So if you go to the repo, we'll see that the last commit now was from the GitHub bot, which bumped the version. So this will then do a release and publish it once this is done. Obviously, the thing is now we have to rebuild the whole thing again because it's had the bumped version number. So this just takes a while. Get that done. Yeah, no worries. I try and explain like the misery as I go along because it's not always obvious. Oh, let's get out some GIFs while this is going on. So that's 5 free 1-month memberships to the channel. Indeed. Got to do something whilst we wait for the build. Christmas port. Come on to Discord. You get early access to videos, and I'm hoping I'm getting another video out within a month, so it should work. But it's proving quite a lot of work at the moment and making me quite miserable. So we'll see. We'll see if it ruins my Christmas or not. Do join the Discord. We have a community challenge going on at the moment, so you can find some details there. But there's a competition over December to learn some shader code and to produce like a fun demo or something graphical. And then in the new year, I'll probably do a live stream where I review them all, and there's some rewards and stuff like that, and a video shout out. So that's going on at the moment. Do come along. You can do it in whatever language you want. It really doesn't matter. C++, C, Rust, your own boutique language that you made yourself. It's really up to you. But the idea is you need to write some custom shader code. And that's kind of the only stipulation, but there's some more details on there. All right, so that should have published it. Bish bash bosh. Done. Right. Enterprise. We've gone full enterprise on this project. We've got an enterprise level build system. Indeed, I do say. I think that's what I had. AC? Have I missed anything? I think that's all the... AC runs the show, by the way. He is effectively the firm. I'm just the figurehead. I think that's it. So next... Oh, actually, whoa. Project management. Whoa. Can't be missing the project management. Otherwise, how do we know we've achieved anything? Create renderer. Complete it. I don't know what is next stream. I feel like somewhere in here should be camera and cube. So let's do render cube. That'll be the next task. Create, but it doesn't automatically put the right tag on. So I have to click here, then the label, then graphics, then I can go off, then I can drag this to the top. We'll do a retro, yeah. Well, we'll have a stand up at the start of the next one, and we can do some. We're planning poker and assign a t-shirt size to this. Well, I think cube is inferring also camera. I like the ability to kind of move around it and then sort of light, and then we'll do material system. So that involves doing some lighting. Then we need to load some models. Then I want to do deferred renderer. And then all this is kind of just in my head. I don't know when we're going to do it. I'm super excited to do decals. I think it's going to be really good fun. I should probably do that massive architectural change sooner rather than later, but you know, we'll just push off that at some point. Then we got some physics stuff, and then I've got to do animation. I'd really want to do ragdolling. That's it, like basically done then. Cool, right, I'm going to go and have a beer and listen to some shorts and hang around Discord for a bit, so I will catch you there. If you're new, I stream pretty much every Wednesday and Sunday, although I'm not sure about next Sunday, but I'll definitely around Wednesday. We'll do it again. We'll have fun and we'll write some C++ code and we'll all cry at the black screen that is inevitable. It'll be fun. I'll see you all anon.